do it because I feel like I can make a difference. I feel like it's important to have people that have the courage to say those things that need to be said and that will set Greensboro in the right direction that might not always be popular.
Greensboro City Council member Mike Barber, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule out here on a beautiful day at Gillespie Golf Course. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, Donnie.
Talk a little bit about this golf course, and you spend a lot of time here not playing golf. We were talking before the show started about how little you get to play, but you're involved in it every day. So talk about what you do.
I am, and what a great facility, and as you know, I'm involved with the first tee of the Triad, and the city of Greensboro is a tremendous partner. And that partnership derives out of Bob Brooks and Gillespie Golf Course, and of course Bryant Park as well. But Gillespie is a beautiful golf course, very close to downtown. Anybody, you can come over and play on your lunch break. People really should take advantage of it. We have a first tee facility here, and we teach hundreds of kids both in the spring and the fall. And the city's good fortune has been the fact that the Bryan Foundation has embraced this location and taken Mr. Bryan's vision through Jim Melvin and created an incredible practice facility. The driving range, the practice greens, and now a brand new 5-hole short course. They are second to none, both in the nationwide First Tee network as well as any practice facility in the Southeast.
For residents that are watching this, or for folks who may just be tuned in to Greensboro Television Network that don't know what First Tee is, explain that and kind of what it does, because it's golf, but it's so much more than golf.
It is. It's a youth organization that teaches life skills, core values, healthy habits through the game of golf. That's our vehicle. And we teach kids age 7 to 17. They start at an introductory level, and they can work their way up to what we call the ACE level. And at the ACE level, it's likened to an Eagle Scout program, really. And of course, with our chapter, because of our great benefactors, if you complete the entire course with us, you will receive a $500 scholarship to get you started. And that, along with a number of national travel opportunities. So you learn to be a great citizen, and you learn some pretty good golf too.
How many kids annually do we have going through that program?
Well, we're proud to say 3 years ago when I got involved, we were right around 300, and this year we will have over 1,000 young people go through our programs. Plus, we're in 41 schools, and they receive training, some core value training, life skill training, and that can touch up to 20,000 young people's lives in our schools. So we're very proud of that as well.
So Mike, if I can break down your day and sort of the duties that you have, because you've got a bunch of them, but you're CEO of First Tee, you're also an attorney, you're a city council member, you're a father and a husband. How do you fit it all into 24 hours, or do you even?
Well, let me first say we put husband at the end. I want Mitzi to know that's not the way I view it. We call her Saint Mitzi, my wonderful wife, and I've got 2 great kids, Kennedy 16 and Chase 14, and any viewers out there that have any thoughts on how to raise teenagers, I would really appreciate them writing or calling, because I am in way over my head. I haven't a clue. It's not, anyone can do what I do. I mean, please trust me. I mean, it's, I really enjoy what I do, and when you wake up in the morning, you're supposed to start moving and keep moving till you're too tired to move anymore, and that's what you do.
You got that part figured out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, talk about for much of the better part of the last 10, 12, 14 years, you've been involved in some capacity as an elected leader here in Greensboro and in Guilford County. How did that start? When did you decide that I want to serve my community in a larger fashion?
I've always been very interested in public service. I was involved in school government in high school, college, and president of law school, and so I enjoy that. I have a natural inclination to it, whether I'm good at it or not. But and then I genuinely believe that we all have a duty to give back and to serve, and I think all of us inside that do this feel like we can genuinely make a difference. I think politics and elected officials, they're sometimes strongly criticized, but I'll certainly say for this council, their hearts are pure and they're genuine and they're there because they want to help the city, and it's a really good group. And And most of the people that I've served with over the years, I can say that about for sure.
You started out as a county commissioner for 4 years, and then you made the transition to Greensboro City Council. What's the difference in the two for the folks who may just be Greensboro residents who don't quite understand the nuances between county government and leadership and city government leadership?
Yeah, well, you know, the two big things about the Board of Commissioners is you fund the school system, and that's a real challenge. That's a tough job, but not as tough as being on the Board of Education, because you are directly affecting the 70,000, 80,000 young people's lives in Guilford County. And the other is partisan. The Board of Commissioners is partisan. And the wonderful thing about being a council member is you are much more free to evaluate a decision before you and really make a decision based on the facts, what's best for the community. And you don't have that partisan tug like partisan boards. So that's a good thing.
So what made you think about going to city council after being on the county commission? Was that always sort of the path that you wanted to take? Or?
Well, no. The opportunity was there, and some very kind people asked me about it, and I was happy to serve. I really feel like in city government, it's very active, it's very energetic. There's always something happening in our city, particularly now, where this is a very special time. The opportunity presented itself, and I was pleased to be elected.
You took a couple of year sabbatical, I'll use that term, between 2009 and 2011, I believe, to go to Spain and spend some time with your family. What was that experience like? I think that's something that everybody would say, man, I wish I could do that. What was that all about?
It was absolutely wonderful. Mitzi and I, we had some good fortune with some real estate, and some 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were on a vacation with the kids, and we were talking, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to spend day after day with the kids? They weren't teenagers then, but we talked about it, and it was a joke, it was a fantasy, and then we began to say, how would we do this? How would we be able to carve out a year or so? And we began to put a goal ladder in place, and began to take some steps and make some plans, and it culminated with, we sold our home, we sold one of our vehicles, we had a couple yard sales, and we stored everything we owned in my mother's house and my brother's garage. And we tried to figure out where we wanted to go. And Asia, that's very challenging travel. And then we looked at Europe, and then we thought about what language might benefit our kids the most. And that led us to Spain, and then neither one of us had ever lived on the coast. So we ended up on the coast of Spain. And we went over for a visit to figure out where to live, and there was divine intervention because everything fell into place beautifully. We spent a year homeschooling our kids, and it's a wonderful thing to be around your kids. It's a particularly wonderful thing to know what they're learning each day and have some responsibility and input on that. So it was, we cried when we left Greensboro and left our friends, and then we cried when we left Spain. So anyway, but it's good to get back to Greensboro, and it's good to serve again.
I was going to say, I take it you're happy to be back. What did you learn during that time, other than just the value of spending time as a family? But is there anything that you learned over there that you brought back with you, or maybe just give you the chance to reset your mind and kind of get a fresh focus and that sort of thing?
Well, I think before we went over there, certainly in public service, I could be a bit reactionary and maybe not take a deep breath and count to 10 before I responded. And I don't know that I always fully appreciated other people's perspectives, and that's probably way too honest. But I think that's true, and the sensitivity of some matters. When you have an experience like that, you get a chance to reflect, and I certainly try to be a much better listener. Now I try to understand that there are many perspectives, not just my own. And I certainly think the first 9, 10, 11 months of serving on council, that's served me much better than the previous philosophy.
Now, when you left council in 2009, did you always have an intention of running again and hopefully being elected again? Or
no, honestly, no. I mean, I thought that was it. I really thought that was it, and we would look at new chapters and that sort of thing. Again, I came back and it fell into place, and I'm very fortunate, and I love this city. And gosh, anybody that can't find something to love about Greensboro isn't looking hard enough. And we live in a great place. You know, the people that live here, we're always our own worst critics, you know, both individually, you know, and about where we live, but it's phenomenal, and we have never been positioned better to be successful. I'm really proud of this city.
I was going to ask you, because you mentioned that a little while ago about this is a special time to live in Greensboro. Talk about what that means.
Well, a lot of things. I think sometimes a negative comment or a positive comment can get momentum, and over the years you begin to believe that this conjecture is reality. Well, here's the reality of Greensboro. We do in fact retain young people. We have 47,000 students in and around this area. But statistically, the partnership had a study, and we've got a lot of young people. That's great news. Our downtown, sure, there's a bump every now and then. There's some challenges. Fantastic downtown, a lot happening. But everything starts with money. I know that sounds like a cold and callous comment, but that's a fact. If your community is going to be successful, you've got to have an infusion of money. $400 million is being invested, you know, now and over the next 12 months. And you find a mid-sized city in America that can boast of that.
Well, I was going to ask is, it seems like it's a momentum thing. And once you kind of get to that point where everybody else is kind of saying, well, gosh, this person is putting $50 million investment in over here. This person's putting $100 million in over here. Hey, I've got $1 million. I'd like to see it used here. It seems like it starts to kind of steamroll.
Absolutely, and I think, yeah, success begets success, no doubt. And I think that benefactors in our community are seeing that it is a great place to invest. Roy Carroll, you know, 75 million downtown. GPAC, Union Square, the Wyndham 5-star that's in the works. The youth center or the student center, UNCG. I mean, I can go on, and not just in downtown. You're starting to see investment all over our city and all over our community.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike, is our what's our opportunities now in the future? You know, now that we're kind of starting to capitalize on some things, the growth of our downtown. Honda Jet just announced another expansion, and they're continuing to grow and build. What's our next best opportunity?
Well, I'll tell you, Donnie, you're a big part of it. And you know, just in the last 10, 11 months, the way that our city and you are marketing our city has completely changed. And I'm thrilled about it. And even if you have a good story to tell and you don't tell it, it doesn't have value. And you, on behalf of the city, have begun to tell our great story. We're starting to see, you know, we've got 300,000 ambassadors that are our citizens. They're starting to go out and tell our story. And I think the good news is overcoming any kind of negative, and you know, that's all that you can hope for. But you know, as far as I think investment will continue, hopefully the national and international economy will remain stable, and we can continue on this upward path.
I think one of the things that you brought to the table coming back to council was you came back with the perspective of, okay, we kind of suffered through the difficult times from an economic standpoint. Now we're in recovery phase, hopefully. Let's change the way that we think about ourselves and how we tell that story about ourselves. And we've long said that the city has the ability to create the environment for economic development. We're not necessarily the ones that are creating the jobs, so to speak, but we're creating that environment. And I think the perspective you brought to me was, there's also a way that we market ourselves, not just as government service, but as the entire community.
Absolutely. And you've done a great job carrying that forward. I tell you, Donnie, our city, we've got a lot of young people. We've got a great nightlife. Our entertainment options with our Coliseum, Triad Stage, our arts community, there's something to do every night in our community. It's okay to talk about our surrounding communities that also give us even more opportunities, because that gives value to living here. Our sports, particularly amateur sports, are second to none. Again, through the Coliseum, the Bryan Park Complex, our Parks and Rec department, which is fantastic and award-winning. We are a golf community. You know, we have some of the greatest golf courses. The green fees, people that visit here from other places go and lay $45, $50 on the counter at Bryan Park, play the Champions course, and they can't believe it didn't cost them $200. So, you know, we've got all of these wonderful things, and sporting events all the time, great high school athletics, I can go on and on. But all those things are out there, and we need to make sure that our region and our country the rest of the country knows about it. We're a great mid-sized city. And the other thing I'd say too, we are a mid-sized city. And we've reached a point, we don't even have to say this anymore, but I'm gonna say it. We're not competing with Raleigh and Charlotte. Shouldn't be in the same conversation. They have their own unique challenges and unique successes. And Charlotte as well. And just recently I was reading all the challenges with Charlotte. Every city has challenges, but the main thing is you don't let those challenges diminish your spirit and let it diminish your ability to market all the great things.
Sure. It seems like, Mike, for the first time in a while, all of the economic players are starting to come together and want to be on the same page. And what I mean by the economic players, it's the partnership and the county and the city. For the first time in a while that I've seen, everybody is sort of saying, well, hey, let's start creating a sales pitch that we're all singing the same tune. Is that reality, or are we closer to that, do you think?
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of reasons for that. One, we have a terrific mayor. Nancy Vaughn, she's special, and she creates cohesive groups, and she facilitates meetings very well, and she's very approachable, and she's everywhere all the time, and she's tireless. And all those are great characteristics of a mayor. We've had many mayors preceding her that were excellent, but she's a special mayor at a special time. We've got a very positive council. They all communicate, and that's great. Jim Westmoreland, fantastic. Tom Carruthers in the legal department. That's a big part of any kind of economic development. You've got to have good solid. So we've had a number of transitions, players. The Board of Commissioners, I would like to see them more enthusiastic about joining us with a few incentives to business, but that's a good group of people across the plaza as well. So if you look at our leadership and compare it to some of the past years where, not that the past we didn't have great people, but I think sometimes we took our eye off the ball and got bogged down with some issues maybe we shouldn't have. Again, it's a good bunch of people at a really important time.
If you look back over the last 12 or 14 years, the things that you've been involved in, both from the county commissioner side and city council member side, what are some of those things that are sort of the highlights for you?
Well, I was honored to be the chairman of the Board of Commissioners when we proposed, planned, and sited the baseball stadium downtown. And I recall having to walk across that very plaza to the city council and ask them to close Lindsay Street. That wasn't popular, but we got it passed. At the same time, of course, humbly I say, I proposed and shepherded through the aquatic center when I was on council. And again, I'll mention there was certainly a little pushback, a little objection, and they felt, those that opposed it felt that it moved a little too fast, and maybe some numbers changed. But I'll tell you, I think for our government and our city to be most effective, we've got to move quickly. And we've got to be clear and concise and have goals, and most importantly, have timelines when we're going to complete things. And we did business with that aquatic center differently than we typically do, and moved it along, and it was built, and that's been a real home run, and I'm so glad for the city. And then 07 and 08 on council, I authored a cost-cutting bill and was able to get across the board support. Robbie Perkins was key in that, and Zach and others, and we were able, without firing anyone, to reduce the number of employees during that tough economic time and try to do more with less, and reduced about 123 salaries, and at the same time paid the remaining employees just a little bit more. So I was pleased with that, because I think that positioned us from a budget standpoint to not suffer as much as a lot of municipalities did during that tough economic time.
Sure. If you think about the ballpark and the aquatic center being sort of the two biggest pieces of our arsenal here in Greensboro over the last 10 years, both of them met some controversy at the beginning, but now seem to be unbelievable success stories. I kind of put the GPAC in that same category. What are your thoughts on the Downtown Performing Arts Center?
I think you're right on target. Again, tremendous investment by the private sector, a great public-private partnership, and any change is going to be resisted. I feel it inside a lot of times, and going back to my teenagers, they see the world much differently than I do, and I've got a certain way that I'd like them to behave and perform, and I have to take a deep breath and step back and say, you know what, change has occurred. And there are appropriate expenditures for government. All government expenditures are not bad. We have a duty to manage money well. And we have a proposal before council now. I drafted that again will reduce positions, and I believe can save between $8 and $12 million now. And I think it's going to be fairly painless. So we have a responsibility to do that. That GPAC will position us to continue to compete. We've got to grow with the times. And of course, there's always going to be some opposition, whether it be landowners, surrounding landowners, or those that just philosophically believe that that's not the role of government. And I understand that.
This council, I think, has been pretty active. There's been a lot of things flying around over the last, really last year. As you look to 2015 and kind of completing this particular term, what's on the agenda?
Well, again, to the mayor's credit, she's created an environment where we were able to pass a new public records policy. Again, you and your department, that you've been instrumental in creating a much higher level of trust from the public to our local government. And as we get into 2015, I'm sure we're going to modify that to continue to have a more transparent government. And you know, that's a word that's probably overused now. But you know, bottom line is citizens should be able to know what their city's doing. Some things it's not appropriate. Some things are closed session. You know, legal matters, real estate and economic development. Some things, you know, at the beginning you got to keep that to yourself. But I feel very strongly, and I think the mayor has been really out front on the body-worn cameras. And I believe that that's a public record. And I believe that if another department in our city manages it, then it's a public record until the police department shows a reason why it's not. Not that it's not a public record until we can prove we should have it. So I think we'll approach that. Might need a little legislative help. Maybe it'll end up in the courts, but I certainly want Greensboro to be the most progressive city in that respect around the country. All cities are struggling with that, so that's something else. Economic development, you know, you said earlier, governments don't create jobs. All we can do is create a wonderful environment where if somebody steps into the Melvin Municipal Building and they want to do business with Greensboro, they feel an arm around them and they're welcomed and they're offered some coffee, and we ask them, what can we do to facilitate what you want to accomplish, your business? And we want to continue to improve that culture within the city and market it well, transition as much as we can to the private sector. And then finally, I would say in 2015, we'll, to a much greater degree, approach streamlining our economic development organizations. You know, we took a piece of green poster board and wrote, and you were kind enough to do a PowerPoint on this, Donnie, and I appreciate you.
I remember this famous piece of poster board.
That's right, this poster board. But anyway, we were sitting having a soda pop, and we drew all of the different economic development organizations. There were 31 of them. 31 that claimed in their mission statement that they were bringing jobs to Greensboro. Well, that's a bunch of hooey. It's hooey. And we've got to, and the city funds a lot of these organizations. We've got to streamline that effort, and we've got to get bang for our buck and coordinate those funds, because we've got existing small businesses in our community that could use those funds. And so anyway, those are a few of the things that I think we'll have a look at in 2015.
Well, Mike, you've certainly had, I'll call it a career as an elected official. You've had an outstanding career. I guess my last question for you, and this is one that I'm asking all of your peers on City Council, what has it meant, what does it mean to be an elected official, to be a Greensboro City Council member?
Well, it's humbling when you get elected. You know, it's great to have the opportunity to serve. And you know, when you talk about it, it sounds a bit corny, but and I'll say the entire group of 9, I genuinely believe that they are serving the city of Greensboro, and I think you've got some courageous folks on council like that now. But in a sentence, to answer your question, it's humbling and very rewarding to serve your neighbors and your peers.
Well, Mike, Again, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed our conversation, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thanks a lot, Don.